Throughout the history of the NBA, there have been moments that made us scratch our heads in confusion, or moments so strange that never in a million years would people expect them to happen. But they did. While people talk about the greatest, tragic, and interesting moments that solidified many players' legacies, let's take a look at the more unconventional side, the NBA's weirdest moments ever. From a player officially scoring for both teams in the game, to a stray bat flying around the arena, causing a game to be interrupted, stick around and enjoy the lore. What is the first thing that you think of when you see the number 23 or 45? It would probably be Jordan, right? But what would be the thing you would think of if you saw number 12? That's not a number you would associate with a GOAT candidate, but number 12 is associated with Jordan for one reason, a specific 1990 game that occurred in February. On February 14th, 1990, which was Valentine's Day by the way, the Bulls were set to play against a recently new franchise in the Magic. But before the game occurred, a member of the arena security personnel was having one plan: steal MJ's jersey and keep it. After the morning shoot-around, said member tried to come through the ceiling and were successful in obtaining the jersey. Once it was time for the players to suit up, Jordan then noticed his jersey was missing, and the team resorted to let him wear number 12, because they had no backups. Jordan was pretty frustrated about this, especially because number 23 was special to him, and one that he had picked way before his playing days in the NBA. No one caught that the jersey had been stolen only until several days later, when arena personnel noticed a display ceiling tiled in the visitors' locker room. The jersey was placed on that ceiling tile, and inferably it looked like the thief had left the jersey there so he could pick it up later. By the time the game was starting to be televised, the elephant in the room was there. That number 12 jersey was actually nameless too, so for the viewers at home, it looked so awkward. But the jersey didn't faze Jordan because, well, he's Jordan. To make matters worse for the Bulls and their staff, the Bulls lost their game by 6 points in overtime, 129 to 135, despite Jordan dropping 49 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists on 21 for 43 from the field. And yeah, after the game ended, Jordan commented on the jersey, saying, "That has never happened to me before. It's pretty irritating because you're accustomed to certain things, and you don't like to have things misplaced." In a January 2007 broadcast, Barkley was not in the studios we would expect him to be in. Instead of being on Inside the NBA from TNT, Barkley had been filling in for Steve Kerr and was alongside famous NBC commentator Marv Albert for a game between the Lakers and the Kings. At one point during the game, Barkley saw the referee, Dick Bavetta, running up the court, and he couldn't help himself and remarked, "I can outrun Dick Bavetta right now." While Barkley had years of NBA experience, he was out of shape because he was 6.5 years removed from retirement and was 43. Dick Bavetta, who was 24 years older than Barkley, was known for reportedly running 6 to 8 miles every morning and never missed a game in over 3 decades. Naturally, Albert disagreed that he could pull this off. As soon as Barkley made that comment, Inside the NBA producer Tim Kelly came up with the idea of making the race between Barkley and Bavetta actually happen. He contacted the league, and the league got in touch with Bavetta. Like Barkley, Bavetta was stoked about the idea. It was decided that this race would take place on All-Star Saturday night. Barkley began training for the race, working extremely hard, and to such an extent, he hired famous Olympic sprinter John Carlos to train him. When the race then occurred, Barkley pulled off to an easy lead, but then decided to run the last 20 feet backwards, causing him to fall down as he crossed the finish line, almost blowing it in the process as Bavetta actually dived head first to try and make a desperate comeback, which didn't pan out, causing his legs to be badly skinned. Barkley would then finish it off with a W. After the race finished, Bavetta and Barkley came together at half court and kissed each other on the lips. And it wasn't a quick kiss either, it was a lingering one that made the crowd gasp and the broadcasting crew lose it. If this moment had occurred 15 years later in 2022, with social media being way more prevalent, the internet would have exploded. Instead, this remains one of the most underrated weird stories that you can't unsee, obscured in the sands of time. Let's time travel back to 1978 and focus on a player named Eric Money, who was playing for the Nets at the time. During a matchup against the 76ers, a lot of technical fouls were issued, which eventually resulted in the ejection of the Nets coach and one of their players, Bernard King. These technicals were getting out of control, and the whole situation quickly became a mess. The Nets would protest the game, arguing the referee had not applied the rules correctly. The wish of the Nets came to fruition, and the league upheld their protest, ordering a replay of the game to the point of the technicals weeks later. In the time between the OG game and the replay, coincidentally, the Nets and Sixers had a trade involving Harvey Catchings, Ralph Simpson, and Eric Money. Money would become a 76er, and thus, when the game resumed, Money found himself on the Sixers bench. Prior to the game being stopped, Money had scored 19 points, and in the replay portion, he scored an additional 4 points. Later, Kevin Lowry, the Nets head coach, stated that this was the strangest situation that he had ever been in. The teams were laughing about it. The players were laughing about it. It was basically 2 games for the price of 1. For something like this to happen again, you'd need an unlikely storm of conditions. A trade specifically involving a team and another team as part of a game that was already planned to be replayed. Games already are uncommon to be replayed ever. And then a trade would have to be planned which teammate would have actually needed instead of forcing it to try to make history again and not looking like a coincidence anymore. This is the perfect example of a once-in-a-blue-moon NBA story. On Halloween 2009, in a game with the Spurs and Kings at AT&T Center, play was stopped for quite an unusual reason. Here's the thing, a Mexican free-tilt bat, which had been going around the court earlier in the game and successfully dodged towels, nets, and wily vets, unscathed to an escape, came back to the court and made players wonder what the hell was going on. As the bat went past backcourt, it caught the attention of future Hall of Famer Manu Ginobili. Manu saw the bat and knocked it down with his left hand, sending it crashing down to the hardwood. And once that happened, the arena was having some good laughs while Manu picked the bat up and walked it off the floor. While this was happening, the PA announcer, fittingly, started playing the Batman theme song from the 1960s. After this, Ginobili was given hand sanitizer and the game resumed, and it seemed like the matters were over for now. While the Spurs went on to win 113-94 in the blowout, the story took a little bit of a darker turn. While this incident was a bit hilarious, it also had the potential to have serious consequences. As it turned out, the arena staff had released the bat instead of keeping it for testing, so doctors couldn't determine if it had rabies. As a result, to make sure the Spurs star player didn't contract a life-threatening disease, he had to undergo a period of rabies vaccinations. Thankfully, Ginobili turned out okay and didn't miss any games. Ginobili later realized his impulsive action, taking to Facebook and posting about his vaccinations and why it wasn't a great idea. It was also reported that the bat safely flew away from the arena. This event had quite a legacy for the Spurs franchise. On the 10th anniversary of the bat incident in 2019, the Spurs mascot dressed up in a Batman costume and ran around the court with a net, commemorating the moment. And that wraps it up for the weirdest moments in NBA history. These weird moments are some of the most fascinating things about the league. They don't happen really often, but when they do, you're in for something spectacular. If you have any other weird moments that you know about that I didn't mention in this video, then put it down in the comment section because I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyways, I'm some random Xander, and this is it. Goodbye.